A Texas police chief is calling out Mitch McConnell, who is refusing to bring important legislation up for a vote in the Senate. He's particularly calling out McConnell when it comes to gun control and the Violence Against Women Act. This is Art Acevedo. He is the police chief in Houston. Take a look.
I don't want to hear about how much they support law enforcement. I don't want to hear how much they care about lives and the sanctity of lives yet. We all know in law enforcement that one of the biggest reasons that the Senate and Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn and Ted Cruz and others are not getting into a room and having a conference committee with the House and getting the Violence Against Women Act is because the NRA doesn't like the fact that we want to take firearms out of the hands of boyfriends that abuse their girlfriends. And who killed our sergeant? A boyfriend abusing his girlfriend. So you're either here for women and children and our daughters and our sisters and our aunts, or you're here for the NRA. So I don't want to see their little smug faces about how much they care about law enforcement when I'm burying a sergeant, because they don't want to piss off the NRA. Make up your minds. Whose side are you on? Gun manufacturers, the gun lobby, or the children that are getting gunned down in this country every single day?
Boss.
Definitely.
That's what a police chief looks like.
So I'm gonna get into the details of what happened to one of his officers, but he actually does touch on it in the clip that we're about to show you. Just for a little context, a police officer was responding to a domestic violence dispute, and as a result, lost his life. And so he's about to talk about that in the next clip.
Who are you coming to work for? And don't tell me, Senator, with all due respect, it's about the impeachment. Because you brag every day, you and Mitch McConnell, about getting judges confirmed. You brag about every piece of legislation you care about. Start caring about cops, children, and women, and everyday gun violence. And that will be the last thing I say this week, because the rest of this week is going to be about Christopher Brewster and his sacrifice, and the fact that his mom, his father, his wife, his sisters, his friends, and ultimately the community that he laid his life for will be putting him to rest before Christmas because of the cowardice of the political people that we have in office. You're not a Republican, you're not a Democrat, you're not a conservative, you're not a liberal, you're not a progressive. You are an American, and American blood is being shed every day in this community, throughout this nation. And do something about it or retire. And I don't care if I lose my job today or tomorrow, but as long as I have breath in my lungs, I will speak out on the behalf of these police officers and the community that they serve.
Acevedo is incredibly powerful in his message there, and he really does bring to our attention two major issues that were related to that shooting that, of course, led to a loss of life. The Violence Against Women Act, which needs to be reauthorized, and also gun control. And we've been saying on this show for a long time now that the very people who claim that they care about the cops and they want to protect the cops would fight tooth and nail in passing legislation that would actually protect the cops, and that's common sense gun control legislation. Now let's just quickly talk about the Violence Against Women Act. A reauthorization for the Violence Against Women Act, which was enacted in 1994, was stalled in Congress. So the bill provides grants and support to various groups that work on issues relating to sexual assault and domestic violence and prevention, among other things. In April, the House voted to reauthorize the act after it lapsed earlier this year. Now, among the reauthorization's new provisions is a so-called boyfriend loophole, which bans people convicted of stalking or abusing a partner from buying a gun. The provision, of course, is opposed by the NRA, or the National Rifle Association. The NRA said pro-gun control activists and lawmakers were using the law, quote, as a smokescreen to push their agenda and trivialize the serious issue of domestic violence.
Please.
Okay, so now I want to talk about what happened to Christopher Brewster, the police officer who got shot and killed. So Acevedo, the police chief that we showed you in those videos, added that the suspect in Brewster's killing, Arturo Solis, was allegedly a domestic abuser. In fact, that's why cops were called to the scene in the first place. There was a domestic violence dispute, and at that point, Christopher Brewster showed up to see what was going on, and he was shot and killed immediately by the alleged domestic abuser in this story, Arturo Solis. And so you can understand why the police chief is angry, because there's inaction in the Senate as a result of Mitch McConnell blocking these bills and refusing to bring them to the floor for a vote.
So there's also a second issue that we defend cops on that's also at play here, which I'll get to in a second. So the right wing has this talking point, oh, the left wing doesn't like cops. Absurd. The question is, what are the cops doing? What's the issue at hand? So here's a cop that is fighting, as he says to his last breath, to protect the community, everyone in the community, men and women, everyone in the community, and as you can tell, super aggressively protects his own officers, okay? So that's a cop we love and we can get behind. If all the police chiefs and police forces acted that way, then we'd be massively in favor of all of the police. So it depends, what are they doing, right? And what do they advocate for, and how do they strongly fight for the people that they are supposed to protect and serve? So Acevedo there is as good as it gets. That is as strong a police chief as I have almost ever seen in this country. And so now, and to further put a lie to the right-wing talking point, we're the ones who want to cut down on automatic weapons and assault weapons, I should say, that also target cops. Not only was this cop killed in Houston, there's a massive shooting today. Again, it's again and again. It's in Jersey City, and another officer was killed. Okay, so gun control helps cops almost more than any other profession. Not only that, in this case in Houston, they use an armor-piercing bullet. Now, if you've ever watched the Young Turks, you know that I go nuts on that issue. Those bullets are called cop killers. There is absolutely no reason to have a bullet named cop killers on the market. But the NRA says no. I want to make just one more extra dollar. All the gun manufacturers that bankroll the NRA say, I don't care if cops die. I made an extra buck. I maximize profits. Pro cops, are you kidding me? The NRA is monstrously against cops. They don't mind if cops die for a nickel. So there's no reason on earth there should be cop killer bullets. What, you need a cop killer bullet to hunt deer? No, you don't. No, you know you don't. It's almost specifically for bad guys, but it doesn't matter if a good guy or a bad guy buys it. The gun manufacturers and the NRA that is bankrolled by them make money either way. So Acevedo is right to be mad. The citizens are right to be mad. And the reality is that these politicians who take money from the NRA are taking blood money. And so for some right wingers, when it happens to people that don't look like them, they think, what's the big deal? Or it didn't happen in my community. What's the big deal? I don't care. And then sometimes it does happen in their community and they're shocked. They're like, oh, how could it happen in my community? You idiot, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. You think there's some sort of defensive shield around your kids or your community? No. And so, and then when it happens to cops, they're like, wow, I'm extra outraged. You should be just as outraged when it happens to a regular citizen as a cop. And look at us. If we were anti-cop, would we be anywhere near this outrage at what happened to Officer Brewster, what happened to the officer in Jersey City, etc.? We don't want anyone dying. Whereas the other side says, yeah, but is there profit in it? It's really absolutely gross. And to come back to what Acevedo was saying about Cornyn is saying, it's because of impeachment hearings.
Yeah, let me give you his tweet via Twitter. He said, unfortunately, important legislation like this has fallen casualty to impeachment mania. We will keep trying to pass a bipartisan bill, but it takes two parties to tango. And look, Democrats are not the ones holding up legislation in the Senate. Republicans are, Mitch McConnell is. So to blame this on Democrats is disgusting and it's flat out wrong, it's false.
I'll be less polite. John Cornyn is a goddamn liar. So the Democrats want to do at least the bare minimum. They're not a very strong party, but federal background checks, 97% of Americans agree with it. The Democrats definitely want to do it. Cornyn and McConnell and Trump definitely do not want to do it because they took bribes from the NRA. So more people got killed in Jersey City today. That officer got killed in Houston, and they don't give a damn as long as the bribes keep rolling in for cornering people like that. Takes two to tango. The other side says, let's make a deal on the easiest thing in the world. 97% of Americans. And Cornyn says, no, I don't want to. I don't want to, I take money. And then he turns around and goes, oh, we can't do it because the Democrats are prioritizing impeachment. What an unbelievable liar. Oh yeah, why don't we send the bill to you now? All you gotta do is sign it. Just vote on it, it'll take 5 minutes. You wanna do it? No. You know why? Because McConnell and Cornyn's the #2 Republican in the Senate, say we will not allow a vote on that bill. It's not that they don't have time, they won't even allow a vote because they don't give a damn about anybody's lives, including cops' lives. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.